I want to, Chris, kind of go to your topics a little bit. So I see the first one you had is black men in therapy. I know, like maybe 3 years ago, I tried to do therapy, and I called every black therapist in basically the metroplex of DFW, Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington area. And I got maybe like three callback or three people saying I'll call you back out of them, and I didn't get any callbacks, and I never went to therapy. And I remember just kind of taking a day off. I said, I got Wednesday off. I'm gonna give it all Wednesday and just dedicate the entire Wednesday to looking. So I spent 3, 4, 5 hours just kind of digging through, calling all these people, and everyone said, we don't take the insurance. As far as like we have it, but we're full for our insurance because insurance they only got, $35 an hour. But if I was to pay out of pocket and give them that $150 an hour, then they could get me in. So maybe you have some thoughts on that. To this day, there's still things I do. When I was in college, I was a vegan for like 5 years. I was big on jogging. So as I became a vegan, that kind of led me into meditation. I was kind of on my Russell Simmons things. He kind of motivated me to go down that direction of wanting to do the meditation and then the vegan.
Can you
And
address
then
this? What this guy's saying over here? Therapy for what?
Black, go ahead.
This I wanted you, OB,
Okay.
and or Bridges to kind of speak about
Just
this.
life, relationships, life, just someone to talk to, just to kind of get my thoughts out. To this day, I'm looking right now. I got over sitting on a desk in my workout room. I'm looking at a journal. So I got a journal that I still will use today and pull it out and just journal, just write, just jot, even if it don't make sense. And I'll get on there and realize I've wrote for 45 minutes and I filled up 2 pages, just clearing my thought. And it makes a world of difference. Harvard Medical School. It was even something that I studied for grad school, just the power of like journaling and stuff. And Harvard was saying that's one of the most underrated tools that you can have in business. That was Harvard's business school said that anyone can look it up. It'll still come up today if you just say Harvard Business School journaling, and you'll see that that's the number one thing they say is underrated, journaling every day. And I was talking to a worker at my job, one of our admins who worked under me. And I kind of brought that up to him, and he was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, my therapist brought that up as well. He was military, so he went to the VA, the free." And he was like, "Yeah, I do that too." He said, "But actually, I got a tape recorder. So instead of the journaling, I just, do the tape recorder as I'm driving down the road and just listen to myself." So I hope that answered your question, Gary.
Yeah, I'll speak to that as well. I do therapy now, and I've been doing therapy now for probably about 7 or 8 years. Um, I started doing therapy because I was experiencing panic attacks, and surprise, surprise, I was experiencing panic attacks in the IT world. Whenever I had to speak in front of a group of people, I was always so worried about them hearing something in my delivery that would make them think that I wasn't smart enough to be there. So I would have these horrific panic attacks that were debilitating. As a matter of fact, Maroon, even on that project that you and I worked together, I had panic attacks there, and that's when I started actually. I for me it was I found that I was having a difficult time code switching in front of people, right? In front of a large audience of people because people were very critical. And Maroon, that project, people
You can call me
people were
Chris.
very okay, Chris. Thanks. On that project, people were really critical, and I struggled, and I realized that when I was having those attacks there, I had to look back at my life and my career before those days, and I realized I've been having panic attacks for years, but I never really acknowledged it. I never knew what they were about. I never knew what it was, and at that moment I realized, what, I've got to do something about it. So yeah, I looked at our employee assistance program. I did some research, and I was able to get 5 free therapy sessions through our insurance, and
Nice.
that was a start. Um, you know, when you go into therapy, you have to go into it with an open mind and understand that the therapist can't necessarily fix all of the problems that you have, but that a good therapist will give you the space to talk about your challenges, talk about your problems, talk about things, right? They may ask you questions to kind of, get more information, but really, and I'm also a certified life coach, along with being an IT guy. And one of the things we learned as a life coach is that, we can't solve people's problems for them. Most people actually know the solution to their own problems, but sometimes they just need somebody to listen to them kind of talk through it. So you ask open-ended questions or probing questions to try to get them to talk more and more about their issue. And I think therapy is a very similar thing, where they basically give you the space to talk and feel comfortable, right? Speaking about your problems, speaking about your challenges, and hoping and hopefully on the other side of that, you reveal something or you learn something about yourself that can help you to, hopefully solve the problem. Sometimes, medication is required. I know, and I'll be, full disclosure, I started medication after my father passed away, because I was not only dealing with anxiety, panic attacks, but then I was added grief and depression on top of it. So my therapist was so worried about me having a heart attack or stroking out or something like that. She says, I've got to get your blood pressure down. I've got to make sure that, you're able to relax and you're able to sleep, because when my dad passed away, I took on the responsibility of taking care of my mom. And that was, in itself, that wasn't that big of a deal at first. But then my mom developed Alzheimer's, which she has now. So, I had to take on that responsibility of, taking care of my mom now as an adult with Alzheimer's, an older woman with Alzheimer's. So the pressure of having to deal with my everyday life, being a Black man in a white collar world, all the challenges of being a father and being a husband, trying to navigate inflation and navigate rising costs everywhere you look, everywhere you turn. And then my dad, who I had a great relationship with, we started to see that he was sick, a year before he passed away. So in that 2-year window, he got sick and, was hospitalized and he passed away. Right. So that threw me into a depression and, it was very, very painful because I was actually there when he passed away. I went through the whole process. Right. And then while he was in the hospital, I had to start to assume his identity because I had to take over his household. I had to not only run my own household, but I had to run my father's household to take care of my mother. Right. So I took all those responsibilities on. And then at the same time, I was still working. And it became too much for me. And I was, my therapist was so worried that I was going to, stroke out and maybe, die myself, that she said, I've got to put you on something because if I don't, you might not be here tomorrow. And so we did that. That's been, I've never wanted to acknowledge that. I never wanted to be one of those people that turn to a bottle and, I don't drink too much alcohol and I don't do any other drugs or anything like that. I smoke cigars every now and then, but I never thought that my solution was going to be in the bottom of a pill bottle. I never wanted that to be my life. But the reality is that if I didn't go through therapy, if I didn't get on that medication, it might have killed me. And so therapy has been critical for me. It's been critical. It's the way I'm still here today. It's the reason why I'm able to have this conversation with you now. And to be quite honest, I have no embarrassment about it. I have no embarrassment about telling people why I first started therapy, why I'm continuing therapy. And now that I'm on medication, I don't have a problem telling people why I'm on medication, because at least when I'm telling people, I'm accepting it more and more. And also I'm helping other people understand that there shouldn't be, we have to take away the stigma of Black men going to therapy and Black men taking medication and Black men going to the hospital, going to the doctor. We have to take away that stigma, right? We can't be that way and be healthy and happy and live fruitful lives. We've got to be willing to do things that, we have always been taught that we shouldn't do, because we have to survive and we have to thrive and we have to take care of our families. So we have to do things differently. If we don't, we start self-medicating. We start taking, gateway drugs like marijuana, CBD. Those drugs turn into crack and fentanyl and all these other drugs that people are taking, or we start doing other things that are detrimental to our lives, right? That self-medication is something that we have to get away from. If we could do it without medication, great. Sometimes it's required though. But having that person to talk to, even if it's not a therapist, maybe it's a pastor, maybe it's a mentor, maybe it's an uncle, a best friend, or just somebody who you meet, at a coffee shop. But having that outlet, having someone to talk to is critical for us because we do carry a lot of burden, a lot of weight. Many of us carry more weight than people know, you know, and we still have to be responsible. We still have to go to work. We still have to be fathers and husbands, right? We still have to do all those things, but we're carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. And sometimes it's good to have take 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes to decompress with someone on the other side of the table and just listen to you. I believe in meditation. I love meditation. It's incredible. Take that time, quiet time, focus time to yourself. Those things are I guess that's to a degree that's self-medication, but it's a healthy self-medication. It's something that you can do for yourself any day that can help to kind of be that pressure valve for you, right? Same thing with journaling. We have to get those feelings and those emotions out because they'll eat us up from the inside out, right? So those things that's all critical. I'm a big proponent of therapy. I'm a big proponent of meditation, journaling, all those things. Anything that I can do to extend my life and be there for my family, I'm more than happy to do that.
Builder, thanks for sharing that. Seriously,
absolutely.
I appreciate you, and you're strong for making it through that. What you shared is kind of one of my 38-year-old man. My father passed away about 5 years ago. My mother's still here, and that's just kind of one of my biggest fears, just losing her. My father wasn't in my life so much, but I had a stepdad who was always around. And even him, he retired and he didn't get to spend one retirement check. He retired and lived about 4 months after retirement and didn't get to spend one check. And I think communication could have helped him out a lot. He was one of those men of very few words. Unless he heard me talking back or something like that in the house, he comes home, may say hello, may not say hello, shuts the door, goes to bed, come out, get something to eat, and that's it. You don't see him until the morning time, until it's time to go to work again type of guy. Just a man of very few words. And I think that could have helped him a lot, just having someone just to talk to. Overall, it was a health thing. He had to get stents in his heart 2 times. But I feel like if he could have had that communication, maybe that motivation to want to get out there and go work out, and do those type of things. So I agree. And even I remember once being at my mother's house and her insurance guy, she still does it old school way, don't want to use the electronics where they stop by the house and pick up the insurance for the week. And I happened to be over there. And that was one of the things he was sharing with her. Like, you never know how death or when we lose the parent, how it's going to affect us. And he was just saying, that's one of the big things he believes in. He was like, it's like me. He was like, when I lost my father, I didn't think I was going to be as hurt as I was, but I was distraught. I was out, work longer than I thought, it would have happened. My dad lived quite a long life. It wasn't like he died at a young man. And I don't know how, it's going to affect people. So he was just saying, make sure, you get that insurance if you can, if you're in that situation. And I've seen someone say that in the comments as well, just, I don't know exactly where the conversation was going, but I've seen just making sure you have that life insurance to take care of those loved ones when something like that happens and just for yourself. So I appreciate you for sharing that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, it takes a level of maturity, acceptance, and understanding to get to the point where you can admit things and you can tell people that story, right? It took a while before I was able to do this. I never saw myself, in this situation. It was new to me, but I was like a lot of us brothers, I was, I resisted. I wanted to be, a strong man. I didn't want to show any kind of weakness, and but that weighs on you. That weighs on you. And I know that I have more responsibility now than I did, a decade ago. I have way more responsibility, and I know that in order for me to continue to be here to take care of those responsibilities, I have to do things like therapy. I have to do things differently. Because,
and you said cigars is that's my bad habit. I got a problem with going on vacation and sitting around a pool or looking at the ocean and lighting up a cigar. And Cancer
Hey.
runs in my family, so that's something that I try to
Man.
avoid as much as possible. I kind of picked that up in college, writing them long papers and nothing else to do. And, you know, during
Yeah.
my undergrads, I did the Starbucks and that type of stuff. So by the time I got the master's degree, I was like, I've had as much coffee as I can take. So I would go to the cigar shops because they got the lazy boys, and I could have my talk with the older gentlemen and learn
Yeah.
some things from those guys as they're coming in and out the door throughout the work, and just kind of sit back, smoke a cigar, write a paper at 15 pages or whatever it may be. So I kind of get that. And that's kind of what I was telling everybody. I got to the chat late. I'm normally in the chat, but today I went ahead and got on that Peloton, trying to get those 25 miles in to take care of myself. Golf, that's something I picked up, paying attention to
Yeah.
my joints, the way it moves, you know, just getting out there,
Absolutely.
getting some fresh air. Try to get off that golf
Absolutely.
cart when I get a little bit better and actually walk the course and not ride it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's
happy to
another
hear
big one.
those.
That's another big one. Exercise. And I'm guilty of not exercising right now just because, you know, life is happening all over the place. But exercise is also very, very critical.